Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Dharam Singh, your host for this webinar, and you probably have watched a number of previous webinars, so you know how this goes. I invite some of the industry experts, and they happen to be my students, and they are coming here to share their knowledge and their expertise in their life, whatever they learned so far. So today we have a very beautiful, very knowledgeable professional, Delinda. And Delinda Fitzgerald, I think you have to pronounce your name for me, but Delinda was my student and she attended PfMP course with me. And then the best thing is she passed the exam on 24th of May 2021. And she helped me to maintain my 100% pass rate.
Well, thanks to you.
Yeah, I mean, my students have the biggest problem they have is how can I maintain Dharam's 100% record? And
it's got to be a priority.
That's a priority. Okay, so we'll talk more about that, but more about you, Delinda. So you have started your career with USPS in the US in '94, and you have done a number of PMO setups, and you are involved in a number of risk-related initiatives and implementation. And currently, you're working as a section manager for transformation service for AVS, Aircraft Certification Services. So sounds like interesting. I think a lot of people like to know more about what AVS does and how you are contributing to AVS and having PfMP helping you to help them to achieve results, if you have any in the meantime.
Oh, yeah, actually, I could probably go on and on the entire seminar for this, but just to give you a nutshell of the organization I work for, okay, it's with the FAA, and the line of business is specifically aviation safety, which is a little different than the air traffic organization, which obviously is focused on safety. But in our business, what we focus on is certifications of aircraft parts, making certain that all of those parts are efficient and risk-free for when they are certified for an aircraft. And it's not just aircraft that you and I get on. These are aircraft, including unmanned aircraft. So we've gotten a lot going on in unmanned aircraft. And in the specific organization I work for is aircraft certification. So that is the certification of the parts, every part that goes on an aircraft, and of course the overall aircraft. What I do for that organization is I work in a service section of the organization. We have a lot of engineers, aviation engineers, scientists, specialists that go out and ensure that we have the talent and the safety that we need on all the aircraft of the designs. And they work with all of the manufacturers that are out there, not only in the United States, but throughout the world. Our organization makes sure that all of their applications are operating appropriately so they can get the data to do their appropriate analysis. I oversee a technology portfolio. So we're looking at across the portfolio at all the various applications that serve to input into aviation safety.
Perfect, great. I think it's a perfect job to have, a kind of dream for many, many people. And good you did all this, and you're enjoying your work, and you're helping them to do the better job. Fantastic, perfect. So thank you for accepting my invite. It's a great pleasure to have you here, and love to learn more about you, and love to know more about your experience in aviation and the risk management. So that's today's topic. So welcome to this event, this special webinar. And thank you. And I like to acknowledge the people who joined today. It takes a lot of courage, not courage, but you have to have special interest in the topic so that you really want to learn from an industry expert. And I'm sure when you listen to Delinda, you will find this joining 1 hour is going to be worthwhile. So I'm excited. I'm excited to learn more from you, Delinda. And of course, you were excited when you started with me. It's at our other site. And we'll talk about your journey as PfMP.
Okay.
I know you're excited to talk about that as well.
I am.
And,
It was an interesting journey.
Interesting journey, of course, of course. I will love to do more about that. And we like to acknowledge that we're still going through this very risky environment. COVID is not gone. It's actually, you don't know, it's a third wave is coming with in a bigger way or not. But it is impacting many lives, mentally, physically, financially, job. People are losing their family members. So it is one of the worst thing we have seen in our lifetime. And I don't think anybody like to see even worse than this. So let's continue to pass this wave and take care of yourself and take care of your family members, your local society, and do whatever is required as per your government regulations to maintain the social distancing and whatever is required. Please do that, because that's how we can come out of this difficult time. So with this, I'd like to again welcome all of you. And I know some of the people I can see, they are coming, they are very late night in wherever they are, and some of them early morning. So it is you putting your time to learn something from the industry leader. So I like to make sure that you have all what you come for. And I will be recognizing your presence here by giving you one free PDU. And if you're interested, I will also share some information about some discounts I have for women and ex-military people or current military people, and some physically or mentally challenged people, so that they can get benefit. Whatever I can do for them, I will do my best. So that's where I will share something on that almost in the end. So all this, and so people who don't know me, my name is Dharam Singh, and I have been providing training, mentoring in the PgMP space for a long time, program manager professional, more than 10 years, 11 years now, with the 344 PgMPs from 48 countries, more than 10% of global numbers. I'm blessed that I have been contributing to their journeys. And with PfMP, I have 71 PfMPs and it is the best thing is it is 100% so far. Delinda, even after you pass, people are maintaining my 100% result. So not only 100%, but also above target results. Everybody who has done the exam is 100% and above target results. So, I mean, I don't think I can ask more than this. I like to see whoever come and do the exam as fast as possible, so that they are getting that benefit. So I'm proud with these numbers, and I like to see more and more people are getting their certificate, not just for the sake of certification, more about learning. And what can you learn from this certificate, and you can apply this learning into your day-to-day life. That's why that's what the importance of this learning, which I think Delinda will share how this personal mentoring program helped her to gain what she was looking for. And so enough about me and about my company. My company, by the way, I should tell about that. My company called vCare Project Management. So if somebody asks what do, I do nothing but we care about the project management. So vCare Project Management. So doing project management, program management, portfolio management. There you go. I hope this enough introduction. So Delinda and everybody, welcome to this special webinar. And I have a list of questions. You have seen the questions, so it's no surprises to you. But there will be some surprising questions from the audience. So guys, if you are struggling, or if you have any questions about anything, especially the topics we have, or if you think that it's relevant to today's webinar, and even PfMP, feel free to ask the question. You have a question pad, feel free to ask there. All right. Delinda, anything you'd like to say before we get started?
Oh, I just really want to thank you for this opportunity. Talking about my journey to get my PfMP was very special, and you made it that much more special and obviously successful. So again, I want to thank you for all of that support.
My pleasure, my pleasure. But do you want to talk about, take 2-3 minutes just to talk about your journey? Where did you start? What motivated you to think about PfMP, and what you do? What made you
Certainly.
do?
So when I first came on board with aircraft certification services, once again, I was tasked with standing up a project management office. One of the things that I saw as we were starting this kind of stand-up process and that, getting the language out there and doing the change integration with the organization, what I saw was there was very little visibility across the organization and all of the initiatives that were taking place. If the leadership doesn't know about all of the initiatives taking place, how can they make good decisions about where the priorities of those initiatives are? So I really wanted to step back and take a portfolio perspective. And I think that I may have been doing some portfolio management much of my career, but it wasn't really until I started focusing it mostly on that I started using the term appropriately for what we were trying to do. So I set a goal for myself, and this was in 2019. I set a goal for myself to secure a certification, because if no one knows anything about what you do or what services you provide, the best thing that you can offer them is a credential. When I go to my doctor's office, I may not know that they're a good doctor or not, but I do know that they have the credential, they have the education, and they have the background. So I set out to do this, and I was very fortunate that I did a search for opportunities, learning opportunities, training opportunities, and getting the materials and everything, and I found vCare. I reached out to vCare. They had a great site that had several different levels of professional development in portfolio management. I chose the mentorship, which, it was a big one, because I really wanted to just completely get inducted into the portfolio management, because I was trying to operate on a short time window. And I went to my leadership and I made the case for this. They were completely supportive of it. So I was able to join on to the vCare family of mentees. And that's how I met you. And we set up the 10-week sessions. And halfway through that 10-week session, something happened. I got a promotion. Wasn't expecting it. It was kind of sudden. Well, that was the first challenge I had with my journey there, because I thought, no, I want to focus on this. I want to get the portfolio management regardless of this new opportunity. However, now I'm juggling learning my new position and learning my new employees and everything while I'm also trying to get this certification. I managed to get through the certification, and the best part about what you did as a mentor was keep pressing me to complete the application, get that part of it behind me as quickly as possible. And I finally got all of the things that were required of PMI to get the application completed. And then immediately following that, COVID hit. So I got the applications completed. Then PMI, they went on lockdown, where they usually take about 10, 12 weeks to do the approval process, because they didn't have the staff available to do so, and they weren't quite prepared for full remote services. It took several months for me to be able to get the approval so that I could even schedule the test.
Exactly, yeah.
And then when I was able to finally get the application approved and schedule the test, all of the test centers were shut down. There wasn't one within a 400-mile radius of where I lived. So I had to keep waiting until a test center somewhere, anywhere, could be available. And I finally found one that was about 200 miles away. And I even discussed that with you, and you gave me the caution and talked about the risk of that. Get there the night before, make sure that you're ready for the exam. But then because of other life happens, I had to reschedule that, and then that one was no longer available. But little by little, I was able to get something closer. And I finally got one that was within 15 miles of my home. Ideal. However, that was over 1 year after I had signed on for the training and taken the training. And it was also, about 8 months after I'd been approved for the application. So I had a lot of dusting off to do for the materials, but fortunately, the materials were solid. I was able to study those materials, and I set another date for myself. I kept scheduling test, which that would be my advice. Schedule the test. Don't think it through. Just get it scheduled. When you have
Exactly.
something to target, you can get there. And anyway, in May, I finally was able to successfully take and pass the test, and I have you to thank for that.
This is great, Johnny. I know it's lots of ups and downs, and when some good things happen, your promotion is a good thing. Always everybody wait for that, but that also brings some risk. Now you have more responsibilities. Yes, it was you were quieter. But suddenly, and you getting ready. Then, as you mentioned, COVID and other things happen. Anyway, the good thing is that you need to continue to push yourself. Persistence and keep motivating. And it is your end goal, and you did it, to the flying colors. Or what else can we ask? Anyway, that's done and dusted, so you don't have to worry about it. And what you have to worry about is the questions I have, number of questions. So, Delinda, these questions, as you have seen, so no surprise, you have seen, you prepared. So let's talk about that. So how the level of risk management maturity changes across service industry. So you are coming from service industry. So having a level of risk management maturity is helping or changing across the service industry.
Well, what I have found, and every time I have to go and stand up a new PMO, I find that the risk level of the risk management maturity is typically pretty low in most organizations. However, for an organization like the FAA, where we are a regulatory authority and this aviation safety is our #1 goal, we have to take risk really seriously, very seriously. Now, how it might change across industries with that maturity is things like oversight, the risk impact, the visibility, and then of course the consequences. You find yourself getting into a lull because you've got a nice process going and you've got your risks managed and you've got eyes on those risks. But then something like COVID happens, which is completely new to everything. And now you have to sweep that incident or that event across your entire portfolio to see how this is going to affect them. And obviously something like COVID is pretty huge. So, but even when things like laws and policies and economic influences, these are critical to how the organization might change, their services might change, or how they approach risk management. That might change based on these events, worldwide or even local. Like I said, I have worked in as a public service in government for many, many years, but I also have opportunities to volunteer with financial institutions. And I was affiliated with a financial institution a few years back, and that's when I really noticed the recognition that risk management was a mature profession. When they brought in an enterprise risk, they stood up an enterprise risk department and brought in a chief risk officer. So you've got your chief risk management officers out there now. So we're seeing a lot changing in industry.
Yeah, that's important. This is showing the focus on the risk management, importance of risk management. And you probably know that there's a PMI certificate. PMI has a PMI RMP, risk manager professional.
As a matter of fact, yeah, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, when the PMI had their risk management, when they started their risk management certification program, I had a couple of employees that I felt it was very important for them to go through that training and secure those certifications, because at the time I was with an organization who sold their services to other federal organizations. So very critical.
Yeah, I did my RMP, so that was few years ago, and we have been teaching RMP as well, just in case somebody is interested in RMP. Okay, so great, thank you for your input for this question. Yes, the service industry and the risk management is really important. So risk management is directly attributing to the project success. Do you think that this is having a good risk management strategy helps the organization to have a positive outcome from the projects, something like this,
With risk management, I believe that it does play into project success, But what I find even more so is that the lack of risk management will definitely play into project failure. So when I start seeing at least the recognition that a risk manager or risk resource is warranted on an initiative, not all initiatives, some are small, some are large, but there are some initiatives where the risk magnitude, and when I say magnitude, it's likelihood and its impact. When the magnitude is so high that it really warrants full-time attention on the risk management of that application or that initiative. And typically you would find those things are the responsibility of the project manager, but I have even had opportunities where I had to split that duty between a project manager and a risk manager. We get a lot better outcomes when we have someone who's paying attention just to the risk, while the project manager is paying attention to the deliverables and the WBS and the team and all of that, getting someone focused on the risk part of it. And even though it doesn't necessarily guarantee that your project will be successful, it does give you insight on why it was not successful.
Yeah.
So you get really good lessons learned by studying those risks and what happened.
Yeah, you are more ready to some unpredictable situation which can happen. And if you are ready, you have a plan B, plan C, so that you can mitigate. If you just start the project, let's get started, guys. Don't worry the risk management. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, you're not prepared. You don't have the tools and techniques and required tools. Mindset is not there. Yeah. So
that is true. And having a risk owner is really critical. And we'll talk about that, I think, in some of the later questions.
Yeah. I mean, when I talk in my class, I do talk about risk management. Like, there can be two teams. Let's say we have two teams. One is team which is thorough in the project management, risk management, and they take their time to do all the required work, identify all the possible risks, and have the mitigation and so and so. Second team can be, hey guys, let's get started. The business is asking us to do it faster and get the results. With no proper planning, no risk identification, and guess what? When the things go wrong, they don't know what to do. So those risks we should have a plan. Now is treated as issues, and we try to find a workaround. And that's where the failure happens. Failure is because we spend more money than is required. Because now you have to have workaround, and the workaround can be more costlier. Because when you're planning, you actually think, okay, if this goes wrong, my plan B is this. So you have a plan which is more optimized. But when you have to deal with the situation, you're not ready, and now you have to find any way to get going, and that's where the failures start happening.
That is correct. Something that project managers should also keep in mind is that you don't necessarily get support from your champions or your risk owners or your sponsors when you identify a risk and recommend a mitigation strategy. They may not support your mitigation strategy. In which case, if the event takes place, you don't have a mitigation strategy, you have documentation that helps the organization and its leaders learn what went wrong with that. They understand, okay, we did identify the risk, we cited it, we had told you what the magnitude of the risk was, and the option was to not pursue this or pursue something, based on other things, like it's going to be less costly to handle it this way and not necessarily the best method. But having that documentation is kind of paramount to your resume, I think.
Exactly. Good. So that is bringing us to our third question. And guys, if you have opportunity to ask questions to Delinda, please feel free to put your question on the question pad whenever you're ready. All right, Delinda. So my third question is, how do you navigate an unpredictable future where the dynamics of risk management change?
That is kind of the life of a project manager, risk or otherwise. One of the things that I try to focus on, or try not to do too much focus on, is the risk of the day. That the risk of the day could be that you lose your champion. That's one of the things that I flag as a high risk on an initiative, that is very lengthy. If I have an initiative that's going to last more than 12 months, I have a very high risk of losing its championship. So there are things that I need to do: find additional champions, get support from that champion to bring on others to support the initiative and how we're planning on mitigating the risk. So losing a champion is a big issue, especially for long initiatives. Strategic priorities change. You have your growth, you have cost savings, talent management. Each of those goals might have different weights based on what's going on in the industry or with that with the company or the company at the time. So you have to be very sensitive to what those strategic priorities are to your stakeholders and, of course, your champion. You also have to be really careful of burnout when escalating risks. If you've been waving this risk in everybody's face over and over and over, after a while they become blind to it. So it's a good strategy to kind of keep that kind of information in your pocket and introduce it to that championship and leadership, not necessarily on a constant basis, but at key opportunities that say, okay, we need to talk about this again. The last time we discussed it, we said we'd make this decision. However, we haven't moved forward with that. But like I said, you can't just keep saying, this is a risk, you guys got to do something. One of them that comes to mind is we don't have enough money and we don't have enough people. Leaders are completely tired of hearing those two risks, as real as they might be. It has to be couched and introduced in different language and different ways that shows them, I've got a single point of failure in this resource, and here's the magnitude of the risk of losing them, and here are some strategies to mitigate that risk. And that's another one, is to always bring a strategy with you. You cannot leave it on the doorstep of a risk owner or a sponsor or a champion. Here's a risk, what do you want me to do? You have to give them something to work from. Even if it's the wrong thing, here's a risk, my recommendation is XYZ, and they're like, we're never gonna do XYZ, we should do ABC. No problem, now you've got an answer.
Exactly. I think you mentioned one very important point. It's not highlighting the risk that is important, we have to highlight. But when we go to the steering committee to talk about the risk, we have to ensure that we have some options with us. We should not assume that they are sitting on the higher level. They have the options available. They know what to do because they are not connected with your project. They are not working with you or on your project or program. They don't know many things. But if you take your option 2, 3 option and talk about pros and cons and your recommendation, they will listen and that makes sense. Your recommendation is perfect. And based on the amount of money, amount of time and impact, I think you did a good job, and we are happy with that. What you're looking for, endorsement from them. You are doing the job, you identify the risk, you have the option. What you're looking, hey guys, this is what that makes sense or not making sense. At least when things goes wrong, it should not be a blame game. Hey, this project manager, you did identify, you never contacted us, you never advised. And now you can say, yes, we discussed about this. This is where I put my options to you, and this is where you accepted this particular option. Again, it's not about blame game. It's about giving them enough information and opportunity where they can take the right decision or help you with that. All right, so it seems like I have a question here from audience. Okay, what is your approach to evaluating, quantifying organizational risk appetite and tolerance from portfolio level, and how is it cascade into the operations, program, project level governance framework?
Okay, thank you for that question. We actually had this opportunity in a previous position that I was in, where I actually served as the portfolio risk manager. That was my job. So we did come up with a scorecard, if you would, for the risk and how it is impacted by cost, schedule, and the quality of the deliverable, or whether or not it would even, and also whether or not the program would succeed. And I actually made this into like these 5x7 cards that had all the scoring and a clear explanation of, You can pick, we have the x-axis and the y-axis, and this would mean that these are high-level risk or these are low-level risks. And as a risk governance, we came to the conclusion that anything that fell below the line on the magnitude for this risk, we were not going to discuss it with leadership. These are things that we would put on a watch list. And we just brought to leadership what we were talking about in terms of high risks. We might have had a register that had 35, 40 risks in it, but whenever I had my opportunities to meet with leadership, I always tried to keep it to 5 to 8 risks that we would discuss based on the height of their magnitude. Something else to consider is risks. Their magnitude can change over time. For example, when I need a budget, every year our organization does a budget. Well, until I have a budget, I cannot initiate these new initiatives. When the closer we get to my getting a budget, the lower that risk will become. But if I cross the fiscal year and I don't have my budget and can't initiate all of these things, now it's the risk of the day. Now it's the one that I'm going to be talking to my leadership about. All of your timelines are going to slide. So, and then by the same token, once you get your money, now the risk is low. It doesn't go away necessarily, but it's too low to even report up. And I'm not sure I captured all of the rest of that question.
I think that's good enough. Did you talk about the risk appetite, tolerance?
Okay. So, and actually this goes into one of the questions that we have about the stakeholder analysis. Absolutely do your stakeholder analysis. In fact, I always say risk managers and project and program managers, they're kind of psychologists. You need to get to know your stakeholders and what is it that motivates them to act on a risk, making certain that they have the authority to act. So when I'm talking about a risk owner, I'm talking about somebody who will have the authority to make decisions about the mitigation strategy or whatever the mitigation plan is. They can hire people, they can spend the money, they can do the things necessary to mitigate the risk. Find out what their individual performance targets are. It can be even casual conversation, but analyzing what's important to your stakeholder is a critical element of it. I had a stakeholder who coached his daughter's soccer team. And it was very critical for them to be away for certain days of the week. That actually factored into how we communicated risks to that risk owner, because we knew that they were not going to be available, and his coaching effort with his daughter was a critical goal for him. It was very, very important. So we even had to manage it from that angle. So knowing your stakeholders or your risk owners, what motivates them, what are their targets, that's going to help you. Because you also have to weigh agendas between leadership. One leader might have an agenda for more money, for cost savings. Another leader might have an agenda for growth. And sometimes you have to kind of play a delicate dance between those agendas.
Perfect, perfect. So there's a follow-up question. What is the recommendation to engage SMEs to think about and report on risk and incorporate that in their designs, decision makings?
Okay, the engaging SME.
Yeah.
One of the challenges that I've found, typically if you find an engaged SME, they're worth gold. What I find often is that SMEs will get assigned based on maybe even a value proposition with their own leadership. Perhaps this SME is not otherwise engaged, so here's your subject matter expert for all of these. You go to them and that'll keep them busy. Other times you've got very, very engaged subject matter experts. That's the ones you want to capitalize on. The key is listen. Listen, listen, listen to those subject matter experts. They've got the moniker for a reason. They are called subject matter experts for a reason. And even if you can't act on everything you hear from them, if they know that you're listening, they're going to be a lot more motivated to support where you're trying to go with your initiative or mitigating your risk.
Yeah, perfect. All right, great, thank you. Great input. So I'm moving to question number 5 I have. So as we know, there are different type of organization structures, and every organization structure has their, the way they manage risk. So which organization structure is the best fit for managing risk and governance simultaneously? Matrix project organization structure, or do you think any other organization structure is better?
You know, I studied this a little bit, especially that autocratic or ad hocratic risk. That's a new word. The more I read about the ad hocratic structure, the less realistic it seemed to me. Now, it does sound like utopia, and wouldn't it be awesome if everything was flat and everyone trusted everyone to do their job? I have just found in my career in project program and now portfolio management, that is not typically the nature you find. Typically the nature, what you'll find in an organizational structure is matrixed. And the challenge you have with the matrix structure is typically middle management. You can get the workers who will support your initiative, and once they're getting engaged and understand what their role is, the workers are fine. It's typically the middle managers or their frontline managers that will cause some issues with how you mitigate your risk. So in answer to the question of what I think is a best fit for managing risk, like I said, ad hocratic sounds like a great way to manage risk, but I think what you're usually going to get into is matrix. And that's when you really need to put a governance structure in place. As long as you have a governance structure, it almost doesn't matter what the structure of the organization is. As long as you have some method that says this is the way that a risk even makes it into the register and why we would spend time talking about it. You'll lift those things up to the leadership, and they can make sure that you have not the skills, but the tools that you need to mitigate that risk.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so another audience question I have. What is your biggest headache related to the audit of the risk?
The audit operation?
Audit of risk, risk audits.
Okay. The biggest headache I have for auditing risk is making sure that we at least have them documented and visible. You know, typically project managers, you know, they're good at what they do, and they'll set up their risk register for their initiative. I can't see the register across the portfolio. I can't see what's going on inside their initiative, at least not easily. From a portfolio manager perspective, maybe I can dig down into each one of them, but that's not going to give me timely information. It's not going to enable me to make decisions quickly. My biggest headache is having visibility into all of those risks and making sure that everyone is using a standard for measuring its magnitude. And by that, I mean impact and probability. Because a lot of times you'll get people that are just exceptionally risk averse. So most of their risks are always going to have a high magnitude, even though there's a reality that needs to be discussed. So I have a big headache with unrealistic magnitudes assigned to risks, and also that headache with not being able to see them. If I can't see them, I can't make decisions on them. I can't advise my leadership on how to make decisions on them.
So having a platform, a tool which gives you visibility to not only your risk, but to all the project programs, I think that's kind of a solution you're looking for, where you, okay, I need this project in red. What is happening? Why? You can drill down to the risk level. Okay, the project level, and wow, this is simple. I mean, you may have the solution already.
And that's really important with, in portfolio management, when you see the relationships between initiatives, between programs, between portfolios. If the project and program managers all have that same visibility, when someone else's project goes red or their initiative goes red, you immediately have an alert that says, I've got to do something. I got to find out why that went red and how it's going to affect me.
Yeah, so that's where the alert also come in picture, having a right alert, right time. So you You know, at the morning, the first thing in the morning, hey, this is the problem. We need to act on it as soon as possible.
I have to admit that I rely heavily on my risk manager to tap me on the shoulder for that. We don't necessarily have expansive portfolio management tools. Wouldn't that be awesome for everyone to have all of those tools? And while we might be a step past spreadsheets, it's not that much of a step past spreadsheets, but I do have visibility into our risk register. But again, I mean, there's dozens of risks in there that I have to understand how they impact the entire portfolio. So that's why having a dedicated risk manager is very, very valuable at a portfolio level to not only alert the portfolio manager, but the program and project managers, any of the initiatives.
Yeah, that's a good to have if we can afford to have a dedicated risk manager whose just job is to look at all the project program within the portfolio and keep you informed. Hey, this is a risk we have to worry about, and we are acting on this, and or maybe keeping everybody on the same page. That's important.
Yes.
Role for the risk manager.
Also, having the single point for the risk management, they understand and how to communicate with all of the project managers. They're communicating the same way and the same information to all of the project managers, and they know how it relates to the portfolio.
Yeah, perfect. All right, let me take another question. I know this person is almost middle of night. I have to take his question. He happened to be my student. All right, how to tailor risk response implementation on the basis of assumption, constraints, and dependency of project and programs.
Could you repeat that? I think I heard retention in there, but could you repeat that?
Let me repeat it. How to tailor risk response implementation on the basis of assumption, constraints, and dependencies of project and programs.
Yes. And that is also going to be part of what you're studying, what you're getting out of your magnitude. How to tailor it. This is also going to be a lot about knowing the maturity and the risk threshold for your organization.
Yeah.
And even your sponsor, champion, or risk owner. Understanding all of those elements is going to help you with tailoring how the response is formulated and communicated or might be accepted. Just understanding all of those different elements.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, I take that, and I hope. Yep. So let me take another question for you. So what are the complexities involved in communicating risk in two situations I have? Communicating risk in an adverse environment and advanced or challenging environment, challenging because you are dealing with challenging environment, and communicating risk to the stakeholders. So we'll take one question at a time. The complexity involved in communicating the risk.
The complexity involved in communicating the risk is really about your stakeholder analysis. A lot of times leaders, while they say they don't want any surprises, they also don't want any bad news.
They don't hear that.
They don't want to hear that. So whenever you're formulating how you're going to communicate your risk, you have to step into your stakeholders' shoes, how this is going to affect them. When I want my stakeholder, my risk owner or champion, I need you to accept this particular strategy for these reasons, and I need to put some momentum behind it. We have to make a decision right away. I might even compare that to their goals. You've got a goal of these kinds of things. This is how that risk is going to affect that goal. You have these dependencies. If this risk takes place, this is what's going to happen to this project. And you've got another project down there that's even more important to you that might get impacted by this. You might have to tailor it specifically to your stakeholder based on the analysis.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, part of this program, I'm giving you PDUs. So whoever is joining today, you are entitled for one PDU. So if you look at the chat, You can see that the PGU course identifier and the PGU claim code. I think, can you see, guys, anybody can confirm that you can see that code and you're okay with that? Anyway, if you don't see that, let me email me. Okay, so perfect. I got some confirmation. And people who are watching this recording later on, please send out an email asking me the PG code. I will send out the reply back to you with the PG code. All right. And other thing I like to mention that as I initially mentioned, that I like to give some discount, let's say up to 20% discount to women in profession, like you. I like to see more and more women are coming into the project program and portfolio management and getting PgMP, PfMP done. So 20% discount for recognizing their effort. And ex-servicemen or people who have been servicing in Army or Air Force, or Navy, supporting the country and keeping us safe in our home. So for recognizing their effort, I'm going to give 20% discount for them as well. Anybody is current or the past, please reach out to me. And the third category I have as a mentally or physically challenged people. If you are in the project program portfolio management and you need extra support to get something done for yourself, I'm here for you. So you reach out to me, I will be giving 20% discount to any of the programs we have. So the people are here or later on who are watching, please reach out to me. I will be happy to work with you. Anyway, this is admin part, it's all done. And please, if you don't see that code, let me know. I will be helping you by email. All right, and I have another question. And Linda, I think you don't have audience, but I will have a question. So how portfolio managers play a crucial role in enhancing project performance by building a relationship between project governance and IT governance?
A portfolio manager has a great opportunity for the building the relationships, especially when you are crossing portfolio. I am working with a portfolio manager and another who oversees another portfolio, and we have a governance body that is all of our leadership plus the portfolio managers. We have the opportunity to hear what's coming from leadership together. We have that relationship. We hear what's coming from them together so that we can work together and understand where our leadership goals and also where their risk tolerance is for any of those that we are operating. We also have the opportunity to make sure that we have critical links to or insight and visibility into the links between our portfolios, between our initiatives. And in some cases, you might have a portfolio who has its own risk managers. We have other service organizations that I work with that have their own PMO and risk organization. We'll set up communities of practice or just opportunities for at least monthly to get together and talk about what's going on in our portfolios, especially where there are any that are connected. Gives us a lot of great insight into duplicity as well. So there is an initiative over here that only because of my relationship with the portfolio manager do I even know that it exists on their portfolio. Gives me some insight into that. And I have to look at the overall investment for the entire organization. I'm a public servant. My salary is paid entirely by taxpayers. I want to be a good steward of that taxpayer contribution. So if I see duplication, it's my responsibility to raise a flag to my leadership and let them know, and at least make them aware. I obviously can't make all the leaders make the decision, okay, well, if they're already doing that, we should stop. But at the very least, they are aware of the duplication and have the opportunity to act.
Good. All right. Delinda, I do have one last question, which is from my side, and I don't know if any other questions coming. And by the way, people are very happy to see the responses. They're thanking you for the contribution you're making. So that's thank you for my side as well. Great. Yeah, so last question I have, how do governance institutions like steering committee, program project managers, portfolio management office, they impact ethical decision making in projects?
One of my favorite quotes is, "Sunlight is the best disinfectant." I believe that these governance institutes like the steering committees, the program and portfolio managers, all of those kinds of things, by having the visibility into everything that's there. And I get challenged on this from sometimes with my leaders is that, well, you don't need everything. You just need these things over here. If I don't see everything, then I don't know where to draw the line on what we shouldn't be watching. So I have to see everything. That's how these steering committees can come to ethical decisions. We just stood up a new steering committee. Our governance is very, very new for the programs that I'm overseeing. And it was very clear to me that when I came on board that nobody knew what was going on in my portfolio. All of the leaders didn't even know how much they were spending on the technology. And I've been able to make a case and bring that to them so that they can start seeing it. And now they're asking the right questions.
Perfect. Yeah, making them aware is very important. Sometimes they don't know what the complexity of the risk and everything. Perfect.
And, when it comes down to ethical decisions, and it's not that anyone's being necessarily insincere, just people are operating based on what's important to me.
To me, yeah.
And by being able to see the entire portfolio and also see the motivating factors from other leaders and champions and sponsors, they kind of understand that they're not in this world alone. So when they make these decisions, it's going to have some impacts over there, and they can start talking to each other. We just don't do that enough.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Perfect. All right. So these are my questions. So anything else you like to share, or anybody else has any other questions, please feel free to put there. And I did put a link which you can use if you want to book some time with me to discuss anything to do with your certification or anything you like to, people book time with me with anything. Someday, Dharam, I started engineering. What should I do? Right? Anyway, so if you book the time, that's your time. I encourage you to come to me when you need some assistance with the project, program, portfolio management. But if you're looking for somebody to talk for no other reason, you have nobody around, feel free to book the time as well. Okay.
I can attest to that. There were times when I had my mentor sessions with Dharam, and sometimes the frustrations of the day would kind of take over the discussion. So it was actually very helpful.
Yeah. And that is where my life is, I am here to listen, I am here to guide. So, like you guys go to the offices and you have the people for me, you are the people, you are my what you can say, stakeholders. So I have to listen to you, I have to talk to you anyway. So, it sounds like I put on the chat, if you want other people who are listening, let me put that https bit.ly /2 capital S BH capital T capital O capital K. I don't know if this caps mean anything or not, but probably there's meaning. But yes, 2 capital S BH, B for boy, H for Harry, T for Tom, O for Auckland. Okay, Auckland. Okay. So yeah, so I think that there will be, we will share the link as well in case somebody wants to know that. But anyway, so this is how you can contact me. Delinda is available on LinkedIn. I don't know if you're open for having questions from people. They want to connect with you. They want you to, be friend with you. Is that something okay? Or you're open for that?
Yeah, I have a profile that's on LinkedIn. I think you might have even provided it in the bio, but yeah. I am on LinkedIn and you can connect to me via LinkedIn.
Yeah. People have some questions around risk management, or want to learn more about PfMP, or they just want to find out, hey, why should I join Dharam's class? I know you are very, very excited in the webinar, and probably Dharam paid you something. But tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. Is this real? Anyway. So
I think it was one of the highlights of my year securing that certification. It really was. And I honestly do think it adds a lot of value to the credibility of my organization and what we're doing for our steering, for our governance group. And just offering that credential that says we do know this and we've studied it, and we can have our advice can be respected.
Yeah, and because you have credential, and you earlier mentioned that when you go to a doctor for first time, you don't know much about the doctor, then you look at the credentials. Yes, of course, if they're coming from the word of mouth and your friends are telling, you know about them, even though they have no degree, no certificate. Right. But in this case, they are talking and looking your profile for the first time. Hey, this person must be good because this person has PfMP, PgMP, or these all the degrees. They actually, people make perception by looking the profiles before even talking to you. So not for let's forget about perception. I think this is for you to learn, to grow yourself, and of course, what else can come with these certificates? You never know. Anyway, so Delinda, I think this is my probably first event when I'm finishing just on time. Normally it is all beyond the time. I don't know what that means, but your question, you're answering the question were really spot on, and there were several questions from a lot of people. I'm happy to see those questions, and you tackle those or handle those questions very, very properly, and you gave the right answers to them. So thank you for your contribution. I really appreciate on behalf of all the people who joined today. I'm thanking you from their point of from their side. So, and appreciate your contribution.
Thank you so much, Dharam, and I really am very excited to have been a part of this and to have been a part of your program.
Thank you, and thank you guys for joining this event. And I know it's middle of night for some people. Literally, some people from Kuwait, Qatar, and some India. That's where it's early morning. So when people join like this, that shows me they are really committed to learn. That's the sign of a good learner. So they don't care what time it is. They just want to learn. So
I always tell my employees that your professional development is important to me if I see that it's important to you.
Exactly. And somebody has appreciated, Arun has appreciated. All the best for the quote. Sunlight is best disinfectant. The one you mentioned earlier. All right. So once again, thank you for participating, and thank you all to join. So there are more events coming up. So if you are interested to learn more from me and from my other future guests, please keep an eye on them. And not only PgMP, PfMP, which I like to talk, but something more than that. So keep an eye and keep sharing. And if you're watching this video on somewhere, please put your comments, share with your friends. Why not? If you're learning, they can also learn. So anything else? Last minute thing before we close?
Nope, that was it. This has been a fun experience.
Thank you. And I know it takes a lot of time for you to prepare, for mentally prepare, and all kind of things you have to do preparation for getting ready for the session. So you accepted my request, and you came here and did really well. Thank you.
Your team was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, guys. So see you soon again. Bye.
Bye.